Hello, this is Mrs. Lewicki, and I want to talk to you about getting ready for your exit HEsi. Now, this is your second test, exit HEsi. You already know it has 160 questions, and you get roughly 3.5 hours to complete it. But you do have your HEsi you took in the end of August, beginning of September, that you can use to help you get ready for this HEsi. And that's what we're going to talk about. So, just some general strategies to prepare yourself. Remember, you know yourself the best. Plan your time. Make sure you're well rested. You know if you're one to finish tests quickly, but you wish you hadn't gone so fast, so take your time. But don't slow it down so much because there is only so much time. In the middle of the test, if you needed to get up and take a break, um, the clock will still be running, but sometimes it's better just to get up and walk out to the restroom or to get a drink of water and then come back. Um, Other advice, stick to the Evolve resources. And in this presentation, I'm going to show you a couple of resources that you may have known about through other classes or you may not have known about. So I want to show you those. Practice questions. Practice questions every day. Every day, practice questions. 50 questions, 100 questions. Practice, practice, practice. But stick to the Evolve resources. And that includes like the Saunders book, the quizzes that are with your chapter, and the online stuff that I'm going to show you. If you haven't already done any kind of test taking strategies, there is one available on the Evolve website, but it is always a good idea to have some test taking strategies in place. And then analyze your results, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do. When you look at your results, I know you get a report from HEsi and you can look at everything electronically. You can put stuff in a folder and all of that. What I'm asking you to do is pull up electronically, and I can't demonstrate it because I don't have a student account, but I want you to open your report, and in the top corner or somewhere along the top, it'll give you the PDF option. And that's what I'm going to show you is the PDF option. There's a lot of pages, and there's different ways that they measure the questions. So the first section is about nursing process. I want to talk to you about client needs. These aren't different questions, the first 5 or 6 or 7 pages. It's all about the same questions. It's just that they looked at them from a different perspective. But I want to talk to you about the client needs because you'll see these categories. That is how the NCLEX is broken down. Sorry, I'm not drawing a good box. But in the same safe and safe, effective environment, health, promotion, and maintenance, social integrity, physiological integrity. That is what the NCLEX, how it's broken down, as you can see here. So what I want you to do with your own results is I want you to look at the areas where you scored under 850 and then balance that with the number of questions. So in this case, you see number 10 is safe, effective environment. If you go all the way to the right, there are 49 questions in safe and effective environment. Now, number 8 and 9, safety and infection control and management of care. Those are all part of the safe and effective environment. Now, let's look at areas under 850. This student did pretty well, but let's look at safety and infection control and health promotion and maintenance in this for this student. When you come over here, there's 9 questions or 14 questions in safety and infection control and 12 questions that were reflective of health promotion and maintenance. When you're looking at these, we go down to basic care and comfort, 722, 11 questions. Pharmacology and parenteral treatment, 746, there were 25 questions. So what you want to look at is the areas where you didn't do as well, and when you didn't do as well, what if there's more questions, that's your better bang for your study time. So any of the areas with more questions that you didn't do as well in, that's where you want to focus your study. This student had over 1,000 in physiological adaptation, and there were 24 questions. So um, they don't need to focus as much on that. Now we're going to look at another student, and I'm sorry, I've got the, see if I can erase, there we go, erase that. And with this student, they have a lot of lower areas. So these sections right here, we'll just focus on those two because the other one is the composition of those. If she had to choose, or he had to choose, which of these two to focus time on, it would be management of care, because there's 34 questions there, where there's only 14 on safety and infection control. Improving one of those areas will improve the HEsi score. Let's look, and those are the lowest section for this student. Let's look at this basic care and comfort, 510. There's 11 questions on basic care and comfort. And I'm going to show you how to prepare for some of those. This student didn't do as well on physiological adaptation, 24 questions. So of everything they need to work on, there's a lot they need to work on, but focus on management of care and physiological adaptation would be a good start. When you go into, and I didn't tell you that was on page 4 of your report, on page 6 of your report, it looks at the subspecialty areas. Now this isn't a full screenshot, but again, I want you to look at the same directions. Anywhere that you scored under 800. Now there's a few things that I see right away with this student. 113 in math. Those questions, from everything I've heard, way more on HEsi. So if you are struggling with medication calculation, you need to see a tutor. You need help with that, because they weigh more on HEsi. They likely weigh more on NCLEX. Now, there were only 6 questions, but as I said, they weigh more. Intrapartum, this student got 0, but you see there was only 1 question, and they happened to get that one wrong. There's another 0 here, and that was in depression and grief, but there were 3 questions. This student didn't do as well on abuse. So there's a lot of, this is not to pick on any particular student. This is what you have to do in your report. Look for those areas, and then look at, again, if you're studying today, every day this student needs to work on medication calculation. But let's say they look at abuse, maybe the psychiatric mental health stuff. Overall, they spend time on, 1 day a week, and other stuff that are more, there are more questions in, they spend time on every day. That's a way to balance out your studying. Now, as you go to the last page or 2 or 3, depending on how many you missed, this is what you missed. The questions listed here are not necessarily the order you got them in. It's the order the test was prepared in. But what you want to look at, and what I look at when I look at individual reports, is I look at things like, look at all the fundamentals here on this report. And again, this is the same one, the same student. Med administration math, basic nursing skills teaching. So there's a lot of areas that just if this student improved in fundamentals would be able to get their score up better. It all comes down to fundamentals. And what the exit HEsi tells us, it's a predictor of your success on NCLEX. And everybody wants to go into NCLEX being confident about their ability to pass NCLEX. Why is it important for you to pass NCLEX? Is because NCLEX is what all of the state boards of nursing have said is the basic, the passing the NCLEX tells us that you are a safe beginning practitioner. And that is why it's important for you to pass NCLEX, and that's why it's important for you to prepare yourself for HESI. What I'm asking you to do is look for common themes, and then you need to strategize as to how do I fix this? Now, we know that Exit HESI has 25% fundamentals. We know that across the board, across the country, not just HCC, not just the Tampa area, but across the country, that students are weak in fundamentals. So I'm going to show you a couple of tools to help you there. And even if you did well in your fundamentals on your fundamentals HESI, it isn't going to hurt you to spend a little time with your fundamentals. And I'll show you a couple of practice tools that you have. Other things, so for this student, I would recommend that they also look at their fundamentals book and look at, because there's a couple of teaching leadership things that are showing here, elimination. I would recommend this student review key points for fundamentals in addition to practicing questions. So some of the tools that you have, like I said, you really need to stick with Evolve tools because Evolve writes HESI. At this time, once you pass Exit HESI and do well on Exit HESI, then you can move on to other tools to help you with NCLEX. But test yourself. And one of the ways that we can do that, you can use the back of the book, um, or sorry, the questions in the back of the chapters. Also, you have access to this on the Evolve website, the case studies. There are case studies open. But there are also practice tests, and that's what I'm going to show you right now. So there's RN practice tests, and they cover a variety of topics. So there's a fundamentals one. When you open each folder, which I didn't do for you here, when you open each folder, um, there's a quiz and there's a exam. The exam has about between 100 and 125 questions, and the quiz is about 20 to 25, and it draws from the exam. So you can do the quiz a couple of times and get the gist of it, or you can do the exam. If you need help with time management, I would suggest during test taking, I would suggest that you do several of these exams just simply with a timer on and time yourself and practice that. Um, just as an FYI, I think everybody should do a fundamentals one before they go in. But there's another option that I'll show you in a minute. The management, if you struggle with how to delegate, the management one is a good one to do with that as well. Then there's also Med Surg and any of the specialty topics. Now, the other one I want to show you is comprehensive exam. So the comprehensive exam, again, is about 125 questions, and it's everything. It's all of these topics. There's 3 different comprehensive exams. For my class, I've opened comprehensive, all 3 are open, but comprehensive exam 3 is set up to show you, it's timed. It's a generous clock, like 3 hours, I believe, but you also get one question at a time and you can't go back. Now, these comprehensive exams are not weighted like HESI's weighted. At the end, you just get a percentage, which is the number right out of the total number of questions. So, but these are a good thing for you to do to help prepare yourself for HESI. Now, for fundamentals, there's one more tool that you can use, and maybe you did this in your fundamentals class. But with the Potter and Perry textbook, these are your evolve resources. So pick the Potter and Perry textbook, pick any chapter, prepare for tests, sorry, that should say prepare for exams, and then whole book practice exams. And you have 3 available practice exams, and you can see the number of questions that each one has. And you can set it up in study mode so that you are seeing the rationales of every question, or I would really recommend that you do it in an exam mode, and so that you get through all of them, and then and then see what your rationales are. It will give you rationales. I also suggest, actually, one of my colleagues suggested this, so I'm stealing it from her, and that's that you keep a testing journal. And so as you're testing and doing practice questions, write down the rationale so that you know that you really understand it, and not just the ones you got wrong, because sometimes we get lucky when we're looking, but we really didn't know the answer. So it's really good to look at all your rationale and make sure that you really understand why you got it right as well. Um, Again, I can't stress enough to practice. There is also, I didn't do a picture of this. Some of you I know have the HEsi book. And so make sure that you're reading the HEsi book, looking at not just the HEsi hints, but in the back of each of the sections, there's questions, and make sure that you understand the questions. Like when they ask the question, why is what the answer is what it is? Again, more rationale. If you struggle with some of the what they call alternate item, like select all that apply and order of operation, there are books out there that can help you. Lippincott makes a nice book, which is NCLEX style alternate item questions. It's available on Amazon. Some of the books are available in the library as well at school. Good luck, and if you need any help looking at your own results, I'm really happy to help you with that.